welcome back into another episode of Indiebnb. Today we are joined by Sage, spelled $EJ, out of San Francisco, California. Sage, how we doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Well, our friend Courtney Kelly mentioned you on her episode, and we got connected after that, and so super excited to dive in. She mentioned that she had done some work with you, and she loves your work, and we love your work as well. We've gotten to know some of the songs as we were doing some research prior to the interview. So, super excited about diving into your beginnings. I mean, where did this all start for you?
I've kind of been interested in music throughout my entire life. I'm the only musical one in my family. And a really big part of my culture is when you go to temple or whenever you do a traditional celebration, there are a lot of hymns and songs that people sing to honor the universe, to honor God. And so throughout that process, I feel like I started to get introduced to music and kind of how it connects to culture. And whenever I would visit family in India, I got trained by a Carnatic vocal guru in India. And that was kind of how I started like my music journey. I've always, found a connection to it through my culture, and it's always been a part of my life, but I didn't actually start releasing music and performing until the end of last year.
Oh wow! So this is pretty, the top kind of part of this is it seems like it's pretty new for you then.
Yeah, definitely. Like all of the, marketing, social media side and actually getting things out there is definitely all new. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I mean, how's it been so far? As is it expect what you expected? Was it more or less work than you thought? Like, what's that been like?
I'm basically running my own business, right? Like as an independent label. And I also have a corporate career that I'm very proud of as well. So it's like everything that I do is on my free time. And so on weekends or after work hours. And so it's definitely challenging because when you're your own independent label and you're starting from scratch, right? Like I had no one help me. I had no resources. I'm fully self-made. I'm fully self-funded and fully independent. So I didn't really know like all that went into it. And I had to do like all of my own research. And basically being your own label means you're doing your own branding, marketing, all the logistics. Like when people are trying to book me, like talent bookers reach out to me, like I'm doing all of that planning and logistics for myself as well. And then when I'm a solo act and I'm working with a band, it's like I'm also doing those logistics. So it's kind of a lot.
I can see that definitely. Well, I mean, as you've gotten into this, obviously, I'm sure this has tapped into a really creative side for you. Like for you creating the music, you've got a handful of things out on Spotify as it speaks today. Like, how'd you get some of those things, out? What were the inspirations? Like, is it a lot of things that you kind of take from your culture and, start there, or like, are you making the beats on your own? So take me through your process a little bit.
Definitely. So the first song I ever made is Descend. I released that as a single, and it's on my EP that I released this past Diwali, so in October of last year. And Descend is a song that I actually worked on when I started to teach myself music production. Like I started to, figure out how Logic Pro works over the pandemic. It was like a pandemic hobby. I was like, I love singing. I have so much, time on my hands right now. So let me try to teach myself music production. And the first take was not that not that great. But I ended up finding through, social media, I ended up connecting with other people in the music community. Like recently I connected with Courtney and she's so amazing and talented. And so it's like you meet all these people and you're able to find connections that are able to help guide you through this process because of social media, which was kind of the beauty of like the social media transformation that happened because of the pandemic. And so I was able to meet a very talented producer who worked with me remotely and like really helped take it to the next level. And that song, Descend, my first song that I ever made, that one is actually about my dog. So it was about my dog. He has passed, but that song is like about how he makes me feel and like how he's everything to me. And so every time I think about that song, I wrote it when I was out like taking him on a walk. And so
Yeah.
it's like I always like remember him. And so it's really fun. It's also really fun because it sounds like it's about a guy, you know, it's like a song about being like in love with some guy. But then I'm always like at my shows, I'm like, this is about my dog. And it always gets like a laugh because it's like, oh, like, okay.
I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, again, you look at something like that. Hey, I always loved singing. Did you write songs too, or were you just kind of, you just like to sing, whether it be through, the classically trained that you've been doing, or like, I guess that part of it, is very difficult. So how'd you get like to the point where you felt good about, what you were writing and were, in a place where you felt like you could, create music,
Yeah, yeah. So actually, you know, being a first generation Indian kid, like I was forced to learn violin at 6 years old. So my parents were like, you know, no one in this family plays any instruments. Like you're gonna learn violin. It's gonna help you out for college. And I was like, okay, I'm like 6 years old and I like hated it at first. But then it ended up being like literally my favorite thing ever. Like I ended up like putting everything into getting good at playing violin. And then I started playing viola, which ended up becoming my main instrument. And I actually sample viola in the song 1/0 in my EP 1/0. So I create a rap beat and that rap beat actually samples viola, which is me playing viola because I'm like, you know what? Like no one ever like uses viola in like a modern context. So I'm just going to do that. And that's kind of like what my music is. It's very unique. I don't think there's anything really to compare it to. And I'm just trying to make something new that like, you know, I would like to listen to, which brings something new to the music scene because a lot of times I've noticed as an independent artist, people are always trying to like put you into a box, especially when you're trying to get onto playlists and get placements. And so it's interesting because for me, like there's nothing to compare it to. I'm doing my own thing. I'm trying to be unique because that's what 1/0 means. It means undefined. And I don't like to be put into a box. Like I want to be different and I want to create something new because I feel like because of my identity as a first generation South Indian woman, who, you know, people like me are very underrepresented in the entertainment and music industry. And so I want to do something different because growing up, I never thought it was a possibility until I just decided to do it in the pandemic. Like I never thought I could because I'm like, there's no one doing what I do that looks like me. Like it's not an option for people like me, you know, it's not like a career path. So it was just kind of like a dream in my head. And so the fact that I was able to make it happen is really like amazing just to know that I did that. And it was truly because of the pandemic, I have to say.
Well, I mean, obviously the pandemic bore a lot of, great creative things and I think like this podcast is a child of the pandemic as well. So,
Oh,
I identify with that, tremendously having, a little bit more time and, being able to think about some things you're passionate about and make them happen. So that's amazing. I want to get into, your latest song that you've released, Not So Simple, as our song Spotlight. Like I want to understand, from your perspective, how did that song come about, from, you know, either words on a page or from really nothing to something. So take me through what that journey was.
yeah. So Not So Simple. That's a song that I wrote for me, really. It's about what it's like to kind of be like a first generation child and grow up and like feel like, you know, you're constantly trying to prove something because, you know, my parents came here and like they're the reason why I'm able to have this like lifestyle that I do have. And they were able to, you know, put me on this path. And it's like they kind of sacrificed a lot to come
Mhm.
here and like have me have these opportunities. And so I feel like everything I do, I have to be the absolute best at it because everything I do, it's, you know, subconsciously to make them proud, to make them feel like it was worth it to come here.
Mhm.
And so that song is really just about that. And I wanted to write something that other people could relate to because it's not only about being first gen, it's also about being a people pleaser type. Because deeply rooted in my personality. Like I always think about others first. I'm like such a giver, and that has caused me so much pain and heartbreak in my life. And so I really wanted to write something that captures like that pain and what it means to feel like, you'll never be proud of me. That's like one of the lines in the song. And it's like maybe it's not so simple. Like it's so much more than that, like these feelings of sometimes I feel so proud of myself. And then sometimes I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? And that song also features like a bit of Carnatic vocalization because I really wanted to capture my pain and emotions in that song. And I feel like um what's so beautiful about Carnatic vocal techniques is you're able to really capture like this beautiful human emotion carried through voice. And that's really what I wanted to bring into the song, which is so interesting because it's at its core like an indie rock song. And then I'm
Mhm.
literally trying to fuse Carnatic vocalizations into it. And that's sort of really encapsulates my music. I'm trying to fuse my culture. Carnatic music is from the south of India, which is I'm South Indian. So it's like I'm trying to fuse that part of my identity and roots into a poem essentially that shows like my mental health struggles, my identity struggles, which I know like applies to many people as well. Like I'm not the only one. So I want to make something for everyone.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I mean, within the within obviously the creative process for you, like, do you start lyrics first like that? Do you start, do you create the, the music that went behind it? Like, what's that look like, kind of from a nuts and bolts perspective?
Yeah, my creative process is a little unconventional. So I actually just started recently learning guitar. Like I could do like basic rhythm guitar, like play my own songs, a few covers here and there. So when I actually wrote a lot of my EP in these past few singles, like I wasn't doing songwriting, like, picking up my guitar and like coming up with melodies, things like that. What I did is I actually religiously listened to my Discover Weekly on Spotify. And if I really like a song, I will just DM the artist. And most of the time they will respond and like, allow me to work with their beats. They'll even, give me some more beats to work with and they're really supportive. So I feel like that's something that really changed the game for me because my songwriting process is I'll listen to a beat that I really like or a song that I really like that is from another indie artist or another underground artist because my Discover Weekly at this point is trained to be artists that are like also a little underground. Like I'm not getting like those top 40 artists that are already at the top of the
Mhm.
charts. That's not what they show me. And so I'm able to listen to a beat that I really like. And then when I listen to a song, I listen to it over and over and over again. And I just start to think of like lyrics for that beat or song. And I write poetry. So I kind of just come up with verses based on poetry and like journal entries. And that's kind of my process. It's a little unconventional, but I'll go on like a really long walk and then I'll be like just sitting down and I'll just write. That's really what I do.
Wow. So that definitely is something new and unique that we've, haven't heard on the, kind of the way that people, conventionally again, like people are, recording something on their phone or, when they get a, stroke of, an idea. So, for you, whenever you basically listen to music to create music, which is interesting.
Yeah, I do. And I feel like I love music and I love like hearing unique things and hearing other emerging artists so much because they inspire me. And that's also what motivated me to like be like, you know what, like I'm gonna start making music. I'm gonna start doing this too. Because you reach out to them and you realize like, they're people just like you and me, and they're like so happy to like see that impact being made. And I'm like, I love this community. Like I love other indie artists and like connecting with them. And they make really great music. And so it's like that kind of is how I start my songwriting process with that basic pattern. And then I work with my producer to create a beat that follows like a similar pattern that's original, of course. And we kind of work together and have a very creative process. And yeah, he's awesome. I just want to shout him out. Greg Zopke. He's based in Paris and sometimes LA, and he is extremely talented and he's been a really great supporter and great person to work with through this journey.
That's awesome. Well, shout out Greg for helping
Yeah.
produce some great hits with Sage here. So with with that, like obviously comes the live element to being an indie artist. Like talk me through what your experience has been so far on that side of things. Have you done a lot of shows? Have you done cover shows? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I feel like I kind of just hit the ground running like after I released like my first single. I found like this local like Facebook group and I just connected with like a lot of other local artists and they would just be like, "Hey, like I listened to your song, like you should perform at the show." And so I started out actually performing at a yoga studio. So Purusha Yoga School, every last Friday of the month, they do something called Vibe in the Studio, and supposed to be very similar to um, what is that one it's like a small scale venue, and then they don't tell you the address until you
Oh,
sign
so
up.
far.
So far, yes. So it's supposed to be really similar to So Far. And it's kind of like their own version of that. And that's where I started. And I met like this amazing music community. And I had my first show and I kind of like threw together a band really last minute, like off of a Facebook group. And they ended up being such amazing, talented people to work with that really like taught me a lot of things too. Because just being a vocalist and coming from a classical instrumentation background, I didn't really understand like all that went into like the equipment and like managing all of that and how live sound works because the way
Mhm.
that mixing and live sound works and like, performing in a yoga studio and the acoustics there versus, performing at Milk Bar. So that's kind of where I started. And then I ended up doing a few more shows and going to open mics and my most recent show in SF, my last show was in March, and it was for Breaking Sound, which is this amazing music collective that reached out to me. And it was a really great show with other indie artists based in the Bay. And it was at Milk Bar, and it was so much fun. It was a packed house. Like, it was just a wonderful time. And then after that, I had my first show in Los Angeles. I performed for Major Stage. They reached out and they were also amazing. And I got to meet like a lot of other local artists that are based out of LA as well. So it's like making those connections there. And it was just a great experience. And I did that show by myself without my band. It was just me and my guitar for the first time, which was like a little overwhelming. But then I realized like I can do it. Like, it's like you just kind of have to push yourself to do it. And then when you realize you can, it's like, yeah, I'm the only brown girl here. Like I'm the only Indian girl here, but I'm doing it, I'm doing the thing. And people come up to me after shows and they're just like, I can relate with your music. And that's why I do it because it's like me being on that stage is to show that it's a possibility. It's something that can happen.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's awesome. You got like kind of a, a little bit of a different, different kind of start going in a yoga studio, but now you're getting into venues and things like that. Now, as you've gone through and done, more touring, like, is that something that's in the cards for the rest of the year? Like what's kind of on the books for coming up for the rest of 24 here?
Yeah, so I'm focusing on releasing a full-length album. So currently I
Mhm.
have an EP and a couple singles out. I have a single coming out recently. I mean, it's coming up very soon. I mean, it's kind of come up in June 21st is when it's dropping, and it is the first Hindi fusion hyperpop song ever. And I'm super excited about this release because I'm a huge fan of hyperpop. I really have been listening to a lot of Pink Pantheress and Charlie XCX recently, and I'm like, you know what? I could do that too. Let's add in like my language, let's add in like a little bit of fusion into that. And so the song that I'm releasing on June 21, I actually collaborated with another local musician who played keys in my last SF show, and he's just so amazing and talented. I just want to shout him out, Warren Coe. He is like a really talented producer, and so we worked together to make this track, which is truly revolutionary, and it's kind of setting the stage for my next album, which I'm focusing on being more hyper pop house, higher BPMs, completely different from my last EP and my last song. So I want to have like a broad range of different genres and things, just because I feel like there's just so much music to be made. So I'm just focusing on making a full-length album and no shows so far. I have, you know, had a couple opportunities, but I think like for the sake of all that I have going on right now, I've kind of realized like my mental health comes first. And burnout has been such a real thing for me recently. And I really want to just focus on the art and making music, which is my favorite part.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I think that, it's funny. I was with somebody earlier today and, they talked about, they toured and they toured and they toured and they toured and they just, got to the point where they're like, man, I can't do it anymore. We need to get more of a
Yeah.
library. We need to get more things. So I think definitely got the right direction there and being able to, kind of keep that burnout away. And, obviously it helps, you just keep it fun. At the end of the day, like, people
Yeah.
do this to, release music because it means something to them and they want to, have fun doing it. So um
Hmm.
well, speaking of fun, let's get into some Pete Peterson party pack of questions. I'll give you the warning. I didn't give this to Courtney, so you'll get it. But the last
Okay.
question is, hey, who are some people that we ought to know that we need to check out? So some artists, bands, anybody that you want to shout out there. So be thinking about that in the back of your mind, while I
Okay.
hammer off some, wild food-based questions for you here. So Pete Peterson's party pack of questions, 20 questions right in a row. Sage, cake or pie?
Cake.
Just going cake. All right. Salad or soup?
Soup.
All right. All right. Souping it up. Sunrise or sunset? What are you seeing more of these days?
Sunset. Sunset. I do all my recording at like the some ungodly hours of night, so it's fully quiet. And so I'm a night owl.
All right. I like it. Would you rather hit a home run or score a touchdown?
Honestly, score a touchdown. I feel like that's more accessible for me. Like I could run fast.
All right. There we go. All right. Night in or night out? What are you having more of these days?
I've been having a lot more nights out recently, but I need to get myself in so I can finish
All
this album.
right. All right. All right. So nights out, but with the intention of nights in. I like it. I like it.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
have you, while you've been out, like, your jam comes on, are you more likely to hit the robot or the worm when you're out and about?
I'm not really a dancer. I kind of just like stand there awkwardly. So probably neither. Like
No dancing.
I don't dance, I sing.
She grew up in the Footloose town, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go. All right. Guac or queso at your favorite Tex-Mex spot?
Oh my God, definitely guac.
All right.
Definitely
Walking it
guac.
up. I love it. Waffles or pancakes in the morning?
Mm, probably pancakes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Coffee
pancakes.
or tea with your pancakes?
Tea. Tea. I'm a
Tea.
tea girly. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. Dogs or cats?
Okay, that's tough because I have a cat. He's been meowing throughout this podcast. Um, and he's my literal son. Like I gave birth to this cat, okay? But I also love dogs. So I must say cat just because I own a cat right now,
Yeah.
but I love both.
Okay. All right. All right. Do you identify more with a ninja or a pirate? You say in your personality.
Probably Ninja.
Ninja. Okay.
Yeah.
Gatorade or Powerade?
I've never had Powerade, so Gatorade
Gatorade. I love it. All
by
right.
default. Yeah.
Toast or bagels?
Bagels. Bagels.
Bagels.
I had
All
like the
right.
best bagel in San Francisco at the laundromat. Like changed my life.
Wow. All right. Let's go. Chips or pretzels?
Chips.
Chips
Chips.
all day. All right. Fries or tots?
Fries. Fries.
Okay. All right. After a long day, are you watching a TV show or a movie?
TV show.
Okay.
Always TV show.
All right. Are aliens real?
Yes, we're aliens.
Good, good point. Good point. Is Bigfoot real?
No,
Nope.
he's not real.
What about love at first sight? Is that real?
Yes. And we're going to learn all about that in this upcoming album.
Ooh, a little preview. I like it. I
A
like
little
it.
tease. Yeah.
All right. And finally, final question of Pete Peterson's Party Pack questions. Some bands or artists that we need to check out that we ought to know.
Yes. So I have to shout out like some of the bands that I've performed alongside recently. First of all, Project Haze. I did my first show alongside them, and they are extremely talented and they're just like really cool dudes. So highly recommend Project Haze. Also Indigo Elephant. They are very cool. Like they are like I think an 8-piece band. Like they have like a trumpet and a sax in there even, I think. It's amazing. I performed with them at my last SF show and I was just blown away. Yeah, I'm trying to think of who else. Um, yeah, I also performed alongside Ariana Nicole, and she's just a wonderful person. And she just released a song recently, and it's literally been stuck in my head. And yeah, like they're great. And I think Courtney already mentioned Alexandra, but Alexandra has been such a great supporter. Like I feel like I've ranted to her about so many things. We've never met in person, and I've literally ranted to her about so many things like over Instagram DMs, and she's just like such a mentor to me. And she's just like, oh, like it's all gonna be okay. And I'm like, thank you. Same with Courtney. Like they're just wonderful people. And then Honey Disposition. I think Courtney mentioned them as well. I did a show with them at Hotel Utah, and they are such a sweet couple. They're like the most wonderful people, and their music is so wholesome and cute. So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. We got five good ones for you for our listeners there. So, of course, Project Hayes, Indigo Elephant, Ariana Nicole, Alexandra, and Honey Disposition. So, if anybody wants some picks from Sage, those are them. Go check them out on the places you stream stuff. Check out Sage's song not so simple right here in the bottom of our description. You can check it out. It'll take you over to the streaming platform we use. You can check out the rest of her stuff. You click on her name in our description as well. And look for the I'm gonna get this wrong. I'm gonna make this right here. Hindu Fusion Hyper Pop single coming out on June 21st, as
Hindi
well as
fusion.
Hindi Fusion. God,
Yeah.
do it. Come
No,
on.
you're fine.
Hindi. All right, Hindi Fusion Hyperpop coming out June 21st with the full album, to boot there, sometime 2024. So looking forward to that, and we're following along as you release more stuff. So we appreciate you hopping in here, Sage. Once again, Sage spelled $EJ, pronounced Sage. Want to make sure we got that in there as well. So thank you so much for stopping in.
Thank you so much. And Instagram bio, it's at Sejal Cargill. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on the Indie BNB podcast. This has been
Uh,
amazing.
Awesome. Thank you.